Hi everyone, it's been about 3 weeks since Youth Rush ended, and I wanted to do a little check-in and devotional thought. Now, I want to talk about two things. The first is culture shock, and the second is reverse culture shock. And now, most of you are either, well, all of you are either at a new environment or new location, school, or back home to the same school, same setting that you were prior to this summer. And so that's why I want to talk about these two things. Culture shock is the feeling of disorientation experienced by someone who is suddenly subjected to an unfamiliar culture or way of life or set of attributes. Now, this is often something used to describe an experience that someone goes through when they move to a different country. But even when moving from school to school or state to state, you will experience culture shock to a lesser degree because each community has its own culture. And then, so talking about what you go through in culture shock is you go through this roller coaster of emotions. You start off with a honeymoon stage where everything is new and things are exciting, and you want to try so many different things. And then you go to the negotiation or the frustration stage. Things aren't quite as you pictured them. What seems straightforward to you and things that should be done a certain way are done differently. And you remember how things were back home and you begin to miss that. And no matter how bad our previous circumstance is, there is always some things that we're going to miss from that environment. We see this face even with the Israelites. In Numbers 11, 4 through 6, it says, "Now the rabble was among them and had a strong craving. And the people of Israel also wept again and said, Oh, that we had meat to eat. We remember the fish that we remember the fish we ate in Egypt and that cost nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up and there is nothing at all but this manna to look at." They were literal slaves, and yet there were still things in their previous lifestyle that they craved. But that's enough about culture shock. So let's talk about reverse culture shock. Reverse culture shock is a term used to describe the feeling of surprise, disorientation, confusion, etc., that is experienced when people return home after some time, and they find that they no longer fit in. Now, you guys are coming home from 2.5 months of being away. It begins with sadness, just like when we said goodbye at iShare. There's the sadness of the thing that you're leaving, and then you have this excitement and this euphoria that kind of goes with the honeymoon stage from culture shock. And then you get to reconnect with friends, visit your favorite restaurants, your favorite cafe, go back to your old hobbies, the things you used to do, your way of life. But then you notice that things have shifted. You no longer fit in with your friends in the same way that you have before. The things that you enjoyed before might not give you the same sense of thrill or fulfillment as they did before. And I remember having this feeling coming home from Japan and getting locked out of my front door because I couldn't remember the code to my own house and forgetting where certain things went in the house. Where do you hide this certain dish or bowl? And granted, I was gone for 7 months instead of 10 weeks, but there will still be things that frustrate you going back home that because you've been gone for some time, and during that time, you've changed as well. And like it or not, so have your friends. There will be new jokes, experiences, and memories that you are not a part of, just as you have new jokes, experiences, and memories that they are not in. And this past summer, you did something that not a lot of people will understand. People will ask you, how was your summer? And you don't know what to say. And that you want to say, oh, it was good, but it was also really difficult and challenging. And how you went through this whole range of emotions and different experiences that you've never done before. And how you got to witness miracles. Not a lot of people will understand that. And you end up saying, oh, it was good. I had a good summer, not knowing how to fully explain the experience or if they would even understand it if you did. On top of that, you have school and other responsibilities to keep you busy, and it might feel like you don't even have a chance to breathe or process all these emotions that you're going through. So, how do you deal with both culture shock and, for some of you, reverse culture shock? Um, how do you deal with the feeling of being out of place, which is common to both those experiences? In Psalm 55, verse 1 and 2, it says, "Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my plea for mercy." And moving on to verse 4, it says, "My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror overwhelms me. And I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove, and I would fly away and be at rest." Does that line seem familiar? Um, Going down to verse 16, it says, "But I call to God, and the Lord will save me." You might be caught up on this emotional roller coaster ride of culture and reverse culture shock. You might be suffering from fear, anxiety, and depression. You might not know where to go to from youth rush, where to proceed to. And you might have people in your life who have betrayed you or caused harm, as in David in this psalm, he talks about a close friend who has betrayed him. And regardless of your plight or our circumstance, we can still go to God for help and rely on his promise of deliverance. Verse 22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved." In culture shock, you go through a phase of adjustment and adaptation. And this is kind of like the uphill curve of that roller coaster ride. In reverse culture shock, you go through a period of readjustment and reconciliation and acceptance that things have shifted and that there is this new version of yourself, of your friends, of your home, and then reassimilating back into that environment. It will take time and work, but you will create new memories and you can deepen relationships with your old friends again and also make new ones for those of you who are in a new place. These things and struggles are only for a time, and we can always lean on God as we go through them. So, spend time in the Word, keep in touch with people from this program. We're a support network for each other. We are people who understand the experience of canvassing and spiritual battles and that experience of getting to see a miracle in someone's life. The people in the program understand and know that. So keep in touch with each other. You have a commonality that is very rare. So remember to foster those friendships. And even if you weren't that close in the summer, still reach out and say, hey, let's let's be friends and let's keep each other accountable in our devotions. Let's work on spiritual goals together. Remember to cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. I'm praying for each and every one of you by name. You can always reach out to me if you have a prayer request or just want to pray together. So that's it from me. I hope you guys are all doing well. And like I said, reach out to me, to each other, to the other leaders in the program. We are all praying for you. And I hope you guys have a blessed week. Bye.